So we've built the unit circle. We have done a few problems with it, mostly the quadrantal angles. So now I would like to do some of the other angles on the unit circle. This key right here, if it says to find the exact value, they do not want you to enter it into a calculator. They want you to use your unit circle to answer the question. So our answers might be something like square root of 2 over 2, 1/2, square root of 3 over 2, 1, zeros, things like that from our unit circle. So the first thing you have to notice is what angle they're talking about. Now, you might recall that a plain old pi over 6, 180 divided by 6 is 30 degrees. So 7/30s, remember that that is the same as 210 degrees. Now, your main goal is to find out where the heck am I and what is the point when I touch the unit circle. Okay, so 210 is down here. Okay, so there's where 7 pi over 6 lands, 210. In that quadrant, both the x and y are negative. That triangle on the unit circle, the x value is more than the y value. It's that square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. So this point is negative square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. So remember, your goal is to find where I'm at on the unit circle. What is the point at that particular location? Now remember that the sine is your y, the cosine is your x, and that the tangent is y over x. So then when we go to do any of the others, like the secant, the cosecant, or the cotangent, you're just going to flip those over. But 210 is just the y value at that location. So our answer is staring us right in the face. It's just negative 1/2. So the sine of 7 pi over 6 is negative 1/2. Bam, done. And that's how useful the unit circle is. Now let's continue this process for 7b. It says find the exact value of the cosine of pi over 3. Pi over 3 is 180 divided by 3. This is the same as 60 degrees. So again, knowing your unit circle, having a picture of it in your camera roll, good idea, because we're going to be using it again and again. The paper copy that we made last week, that's a good thing you can have on hand to look at. But hopefully eventually you'll just have them memorized. 60 degrees is about here. It's the same triangle I mentioned up there, except now our x is the short one and our y is the long one. So at pi over 3, 60 degrees, the point is 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. Now the cosine is the x value at that location, so we want the value right there. So our answer for the cosine of pi over 3 is the x value, 1/2. That's it. That's how you do these. So again, it's just, what is my location? What does the point at that location tell me? The x is the cosine, the y is the sine, the tangent is y over x. Do we have any questions about 7a or b so far? Yes. Yeah, so you can use the one that you took a screenshot of. You can use the paper one, but eventually you want to be able to do it without any of those tools. So let's take a look at the next one, C, which is 4 pi over 3. In B, we already used that pi over 3 was 60 degrees. So that 4 pi over 3 tells me that it is a 60 somewhere else. Well, 4 times 60 is 240. So that is the 60 degrees that just went past 180. So it's down here. Now what's cool is we already know the point related to our reference angle pi over 3. So we have the point already kind of in focus there in part B, 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. Just what happens in the third quadrant? Well, at Yeah, they're both negative, exactly. So this is the point negative 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2. Now remember that our tangent is y value over the x value, the sine value over the cosine value. So our tangent of 4 pi over 3 is the y value, negative square root of 3 over 2, over the x value, negative 1/2. Now, when I go to reduce that, let me kind of tell you how I do it, and then that might help you in the future. First thing, two negatives are going to make a positive. So we know that the tangent in the third quadrant is always positive. So you can kind of take care of that right off the bat. Another thing that's cool, if you do the big C over the little c, there are 2's in both locations. So the 2's are in perfect spots to cancel out. So you just end up with a square root of 3 in the top and a 1 on the bottom. So when you are at a pi over 3, you get square root of 3 over 1 for a tangent. If you're at a pi over 6, you get 1 over square root of 3. It reverses that. And so our final answer is square root of 3. So that is C, but you'll notice we used B's information to kind of help guide us. And then the last one here says to find the exact value of 270. Now 270 is down there. The point at 270 is 0, negative 1. Now they asked us for the secant. The secant is the reciprocal for which one of our trig functions? Secant goes with which one of our trig functions? Cosine. So let's think about the cosine. Now remember, the cosine is the x value. So the cosine of 270 is the x value from our ordered pair. So it's just 0. Now, if something is a whole number and we want to take its reciprocal, if we think about it as being 0 over 1, when we do the reciprocal of that, just flip it over. It becomes 1 over 0. Yeah, so when you get that 0 denominator, you can either write the words undefined or you can use the null set. I don't care either one of them. So our answer is undefined or the null set. So if you get 0 on the top or plain old 0, 0 is okay. But if you get a 0 denominator, make sure that you write that it is undefined or the null set. So there's some practice actually using our unit circle values. Any questions there? Okay. Let's do it again, and then we'll talk about the homework. Now, if the value that you see is more than 360, or if the value you see is negative, so less than 0 or 360, you just have to figure out where you land. The key is, where did I end up? And you get to use the point on the unit circle that corresponds with that spot, okay? So when they say cosine of 9 pi over 4, the pi over 4 section of that tells me that it's related to 45 degrees. That's square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. But I just need to know which quadrant it lands in. Does it land in quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? Because then I can use pi over 4. Now, pi over 4 is 45 degrees. So I'm going to break my x-axis into 45, x and y-axis into 45-degree wedges. And I'm going to count in the positive direction 9 of them. Okay, so 9 pi over 4s. So I'm going to start here at 0. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So technically, I land in the first quadrant of pi over 4, which is just I land perfectly at pi over 4, or 45 degrees, which gives me the point square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, which I get to use to answer this question. So the cosine of 9 pi over 4 is the same as the cosine of pi over 4, because they landed us at the same location. We call those coterminal angles. They land us at the exact same location. So cosine of pi over 4, remember the cosine of any angle measure is just the x value on the unit circle. So the answer is square root of 2 over 2. That's it. Okay. So the key is finding where you land, because if I know where I land, that is the value I get to use. Now, negative values, you can do them a variety of ways. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do problem B. If we think of that direction being our negative direction, there's negative 90, there's negative 180, there is negative 270. So negative 300 is right here. Now, another way you can find the location we ended up in is if we take any negative value and add 360. When we had talked about coterminal angles in, I believe, lesson 7.2, we were allowed to add 360 and subtract 360 to find an alternate location. You remember the loops around. So negative 360 plus 360 is 60 degrees. We land at the 60 degree mark. So we have found the location on the unit circle. So our location on the unit circle corresponds with 60 degrees, which is the point 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. So the sine of negative 300 is the same as the sine of 60 degrees. Remember, sine is just the y value at that location. So in this case, the answer is square root of 3 over 2. So if they say exact value, you have to find the exact location, and you get to use the point at that location. Whether it's called 60 or not, negative 300 and 60 do the same exact thing. If you were at this time to put the sign of negative 300 in degree mode into your calculator, or if you put the sign of 60, it's going to give you that same decimal. It's like 0.8 something or another. Okay. But I don't want that. I want the exact value square root of 3 over 2. Everybody good with example B? Kind of makes sense, maybe, hopefully. Okay, let's take a look at part C. Now, I'm going to do this one a few different ways. Let's talk about 29 pi over 6. Pi over 6 is a reference of 30. Now, think about one rotation is 2 pi's, or for pi over 6, that would be 12 pi's over 6. So you just double the bottom. Every 12 pi over 6's, 30 times 12 is 360, is going to get us a loop around. So if we think about 29 pi over 6, if we take off 12, a loop around, that gives us 17 pi over 6. So I still can take off a loop around. And which finally leaves us 5 pi over 6 is extra. Now 29 pi over 6 then is coterminal with 5 pi over 6. So the tangent of 29 pi over 6 is the same as the tangent of 5 pi over 6. Now, let's think of it a different way. Every pi over 6 is 30. If we convert that to degrees, 29 times 30 is 870 degrees. If I minus 360, which is exactly what I did here by subtracting 12 pi over 6, 870 minus 360 is 510. Still too big. Subtract 360 again. I get 150 degrees. What is 5 pi over 6? 150 degrees. 5 times 30 is 150. So no matter if you change it to degrees, we have to subtract 360 or 2 rotations to find our location. Or if we start with radians and we subtract 2 pi, we subtract 2 pi again to find our location. No matter how you slice it, guess what? We landed at 150. So that's the key. Where do I land? So let me draw that picture. 150 is right here. It is coterminal with pi over 6. We already talked about pi over 6 is kind of the key here, 30 degrees. A 30-degree reference uses the point square root of 3 over 2 1/2, but we're going left. So that's negative square root of 3 over 2 and positive 1/2. Remember, if you land in the second quadrant, your x goes left, negative. Your y goes up, it's positive. Now remember, yeah. So the tangent is y over x. So we're just going to do the y value. The y value is 1/2 over the x value, which is negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, now look what's going to happen. The 2's are going to cancel, just like we did before when we had the square root of 3 over 2 on the top and the 1/2 on the bottom. No matter what, the 2's are going to cancel. And then what's left? On top, I see a 1. On the bottom, I see a negative square root of 3. It's customary to either put the negative on top or out in front. I don't care where you put it. Just usually don't leave it in the bottom. Now, to rationalize this, technically what happens is we multiply by the matching radical for our denominator, radical 3. So what it happens is it pops it to the top and leaves a normal number behind. So the tangent of 29 pi over 6 is the same as the tangent of 5 pi over 6, which is the same as the tangent of 150. We get negative 1 over square root of 3, which is negative square root of 3 over 3. What's my location? What do I do with it once I find it? At the location, the x value is your cosine, the y value is the sine, the tangent is y over x or sine over cosine. So there is example 8, finding those coterminal locations. That's why adding or subtracting 360, adding or subtracting 2 pi is really helpful. Everybody okay with those ones? Okay, so now let's take a look at your homework. So let's kind of do a little bit, kind of one of each. These top ones are your quadrantal angles. It says to find the exact value of the trig functions. So find the location. Here's what I want. I don't just want, like the answer to this one, I don't want it's just 1. Yeah, I do want it's 1. That is the correct answer. But I also just want you to do this. I want you to make me a little point at 90 and tell me where you got that information. I got the information because I landed at that point, which is at the point 0, 1. So you know how each time I was drawing like a little picture of how I found it? Draw me a little picture. Where did you find that information? Okay. For These ones you're just drawing over here. I've provided 4 little graphs. So you're going to draw the angle and then put the little reference angle, kind of like I did right here exactly. Except even if you want to put the little swirly thing. Okay. So that's what you're doing for that section. Here, kind of all of these from here down, I want you, so let's do 25 together. For 4 pi over 3, what I want you to show me is I want you to show me where 4 pi over 3 gets you. 4 pi over 3 is 240. So you can label that as 240 if you want. And then I want you to label the point. So that is negative square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. And then answer the actual question. The question would be our cosine, which is the x value. So that would be negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so for those ones, draw a little sketch of where you land. Tell me the value, the answer. And that's what you're going to do for the remainder. So you have a big chunk of time. These will not take you long if you use your time wisely. So use your class time. Don't forget you have that memory quiz, the video that I posted on Friday, the paper that we actually did on Friday is what you want to study. The memory quiz will be tomorrow. And you have to draw the unit circle. I will provide you with colored pencils if you want to do the color coding, if the colorians help you. That's not required, but I'll have those there for you if you need them. No calculators on the quiz tomorrow.